Hello, I'm Kat, and today I'm going to show you a walkthrough on how I do glowy magic effects with markers. I've been a working artist for quite a while now, and although I did go to animation school back at the turn of the century, I am largely self taught with this particular medium. So I had to learn a lot of things through trial and error. In fact, I still remember the day I discovered color layering and blending, and it absolutely blew my mind. So if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. So I already did my base colors before starting the video, as well as laying out the areas where I wanted the blue flames and how they should flow across the composition. By the way, this is Juste from Castlevania Nocturne, and it's a really cool show, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. This is not a sponsored video, obviously. Anyway, so I like to start with the darkest color first. And it's super helpful when you're doing these things to plan out your gradient and which markers you're going to use on a separate paper before you dive in. It's not required, but it does make life a little bit easier. And if, for instance, you're on a deadline, you can have sort of a mental library of preset gradients that you can use without having to spend time and or brain power on them. If you're doing a sketch card set like I frequently do, you'll often have a pile of 10, 25, 50, even 100 cards to get through in a short amount of time. But even on a one off commission, you want to be able to strike that balance between time and effort and energy and how much you're getting paid. So, having pre planned color mixes that you can go to and pull out whenever you need them that you already know look good can be a nice little shortcut and save you some time. Anyway, as I said before, I start with the darkest color and move on through the spectrum to the lightest, as that, in my opinion, makes for the easiest blending and the richest colors. On this gradient, I'm using markers all with roughly the same hue, and that also makes for no surprises in the mix. So there aren't going to be any weird random greens or browns as I'm going through. One thing to be aware of is how bright you want your glowy object to be. What I mean is, how close do you want to push your darkest colors to the edges of the glow? If you have something that creates a lot of illumination, for example, maybe you have just a little bit of dark on the edges of the composition. For this one, I want it to be pretty dark, which will make the glowy magic flame look brighter by contrast. So that means I'm going to use a lot of darks and then just a little bit of light colors closer to the object. I do really like how the midtones interact with the darker blues, so I do kind of want to emphasize that, but the band of super light color is relatively narrow. When you're blending your marker colors, it is helpful to leave the edges of each colored area kind of loose and ragged. This will make it easier for the colors to meld, whereas if you leave a hard line or a hard edge, you can achieve a blurred effect, but it takes more work, and it is difficult to make that line vanish altogether. That can be a cool look, however, so I don't say never do that. I go through the color range from darkest to midtones to lightest, and the final step is taking my colorless blender and softening the edges towards the white areas. So that makes a really nice, smooth, light blur effect. The blender is basically just the alcohol without any pigment, so it will dilute the ink of whatever color you've already put down. I use a little circly scrubby motion to disperse the ink across the page. Once I finished with the glow, I wasn't happy with the lighting on the rest of the character. I felt like it wasn't high contrast enough. So I layered on some more shadows to make it look more like he's really in the scene with the magic and it's illuminating him. And that's all there is to it. It is a fairly simple technique, but it does look pretty cool. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. Check out my Patreon if you want to support what I do, or you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description. Bye!